Before we begin, I thought it would be fun if everyone lets me know in the comments where they're watching this video from. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's start today's episode. The earliest known account of such a creature dates back to the late 1800s. One notable incident took place near Ape Canyon, close to the base of Mount St. Helens in Washington state. According to reports from 1924, a group of miners exploring the area claimed to have encountered several large, hairy beings. They reported discovering footprints measuring 16 inches long and 7 inches wide, which they believed were left by the creatures. The tracks were said to stretch for roughly 5 miles. During their time in the mountains, the miners described hearing eerie sounds, such as whooping and screaming, emanating from the nearby forest. They also claimed to have seen the creatures from afar, describing them as being covered in thick, dark hair. Their account gained significant attention in local newspapers and eventually attracted national coverage. This incident played a major role in igniting public fascination with the creature and led to a wave of similar sighting reports in the years that followed. Still, many researchers have expressed skepticism about the story, citing inconsistencies in the miners' testimonies. Some skeptics have pointed out that the miners' claim of tracking footprints for several miles seems questionable, especially considering the area's rugged terrain and thick forest. Nevertheless, the incident remains a significant part of Bigfoot folklore and continues to captivate public interest. Since the events at Ape Canyon, there have been countless additional reports of similar sightings, and many researchers are still actively exploring the possibility that such a creature exists. Beyond the Ape Canyon account, early reports of Bigfoot also come from Native American tribes in the Pacific Northwest. These tribes have passed down legends for generations, referring to the creature by various names such as Sasquatch and Skookum. One of the most well-known legends is that of the Wild Man of the Woods, said to dwell deep within the forests of the region. Descriptions often portray it as being covered in long, matted hair and having an unpleasant smell. The creature was also believed to be incredibly elusive, rarely making itself visible to humans. These early accounts have played a key role in sustaining interest in Bigfoot and have motivated researchers to keep searching for answers. Interestingly, the descriptions of the creature's odor have led some to speculate that these stories may represent some of the earliest references to the so-called skunk ape. This large creature is a humanoid believed to inhabit the southeastern United States, particularly in the swamps and wetlands of Florida. The creature is said to be similar in appearance to Bigfoot, but with longer hair and a distinct odor that earned it its nickname. Despite numerous sightings and alleged evidence, the existence of the skunk ape remains unproven, and many skeptics consider it to be a product of folklore. The first recorded sighting of the creature occurred in the late 19th century when a group of hunters claimed to have seen a large, hairy creature in the Florida wilderness. Since then, there have been numerous sightings and reports of encounters with the creature. Many witnesses describe it as being between 6 and 8 feet tall with a muscular build and a distinctively foul odor, which some speculate may be a defense mechanism against predators. In addition to eyewitness accounts, there have been several alleged pieces of physical evidence associated with the skunk ape. Footprints claimed to belong to the creature have been found throughout the southeastern United States, with some measuring up to 17 inches in length. In February, a grainy video emerged that purported to show the creature in the Florida Everglades. However, the video has been criticized for being unclear and inconclusive. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend of the skunk ape continues to persist in Florida and throughout the southeastern United States. Some people have even gone so far as to dedicate their lives to researching the creature and gathering evidence of its existence. However, skeptics argue that the skunk ape is simply a product of folklore, and they point out that many supposed sightings of the creature are from unreliable witnesses or have alternative explanations, such as misidentified animals or hoaxes perpetrated by individuals seeking attention or profit. In addition, they note that despite decades of alleged sightings and evidence, no conclusive proof of the creature's existence has ever been found. As of right now, despite numerous sightings and alleged evidence, its existence remains unproven and many skeptics remain unconvinced. These creatures have been a topic of interest and speculation for decades. Reports of sightings of the creature have been recorded all over the world, but but it seems that Bigfoot encounters in national parks are more common than in any other location. The vast and remote wilderness areas of national parks, with their rugged terrain and dense forests, provide a perfect habitat for the elusive creature. Sightings in national parks are usually reported by hikers, campers, and park rangers. These encounters vary from brief sightings of the creature to more prolonged and detailed observations. While some encounters are frightening and disturbing, others are more benign, with the creature simply being observed from a distance. One common way the creature is encountered in national parks is through tracks or footprints left behind. These tracks are often found in remote areas, away from established trails and roads, and can be difficult to locate. However, when they are found, they provide compelling evidence of the creature's existence. Park rangers and researchers often investigate these tracks, taking plaster casts and measurements, and analyzing them to try to learn more about the creature's behavior and movements. Another way the creature is encountered in national parks is through vocalizations. These sounds can be heard at night when the forest is quiet, and they are often described as high-pitched screams or howls. While some of these vocalizations may be attributed to known animals, others are more mysterious and unexplainable. Some park rangers have even reported seeing the creature with their own eyes. These sightings are usually brief and happen at a distance, with the creature quickly disappearing into the dense forest. Park rangers, with their training in wildlife observation and species identification, are typically well-equipped to recognize animals by their behavior and physical traits. Yet these mysterious creatures continue to defy explanation. There have even been accounts of these beings stealing food and supplies from campsites in national parks. Such encounters often alarm campers, who may awaken to find their belongings disturbed and their food scattered. Still, these incidents are uncommon and are more often the result of animals like bears or raccoons rather than anything unknown. It's also important to recognize that not every report from national parks is authentic. Many are hoaxes or simple cases of mistaken identity involving familiar animals. That said, a number of sightings have been deemed credible and have prompted investigations by both rangers and researchers. These unusual encounters contribute to the enduring allure and mystery of the creature. While no definitive proof of its existence has been uncovered, the stories from national parks continue to pique curiosity. With continued research, we may one day uncover conclusive evidence of this elusive being. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries and enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to stay updated on all our latest content. Moving on to the next mystery. Mars has long captured the imagination of humanity, standing as one of our most intriguing planetary neighbors. Its mysterious terrain, hints at past or present life, and potential as a future home for humans have all contributed to our enduring fascination. This curiosity, passed down through generations, reflects a deep desire to uncover the secrets of the Red Planet. Among those drawn to Mars is a man named Mr. Callahan, who recently shared on social media that he had been examining the latest images sent back by the Mars Curiosity rover. A devoted space enthusiast and amateur astronomer, Mr. Callahan had spent years carefully studying these images in hopes of spotting any signs of life. His passion for space exploration and the search for extraterrestrial existence fueled his ongoing efforts. The Curiosity rover has played a vital role in exploring Mars, providing a vast array of data and photographs. Yet, Mr. Callahan remained skeptical, suspecting that NASA might not be fully open about its discoveries. He believed the agency could be withholding crucial information related to the possible presence of life on Mars. Driven by a resolute determination, he was unwavering in his resolve to uncover compelling evidence that demanded recognition. Upon analyzing the most recent set of pictures, his eyes widened in astonishment. Among the rugged terrain, he detected an unusual structure that bore a striking resemblance to a crab-like creature. Its body exhibited a subdued, rusty tone, seamlessly blending into the Martian surroundings, rendering it nearly indiscernible at initial observation. This discovery sparked a surge of intrigue, prompting him to delve deeper into the enigmatic characteristics of this peculiar formation. As he focused intently on the image before him, a sense of anticipation surged within him with each successive tap of the mouse. The creature depicted in the image possessed an apparent tough exoskeleton and 10 elongated slender legs. It stood out as a unique and unprecedented sighting for him, prompting him to ponder whether this revelation marked the culmination of his quest for discovery. He promptly downloaded the image and meticulously compared it with various other photos captured from diverse perspectives and under varying lighting situations. The entity appeared to stand out, effectively eliminating the likelihood of a camera malfunction. The man said that this photograph presented itself as a concrete and authentic phenomenon on Mars, compelling him to establish its existence to fellow believers. Over the following weeks, the man committed all his available time to delving deeper into his research. And as of right now, he meticulously scrutinized the images, sent out emails to leading authorities in the field of astrobiology, and went as far as reaching out to NASA to seek clarification about the anomaly he had discovered. Despite his efforts, the responses he received from NASA were courteous yet non-committal, leaving him even more resolute in his quest for answers. One user said the following: "This image stands out as an exceptional portrayal of what life on Mars could potentially look like, making it one of the finest photographs I have come across. Upon further observation, I realized that there is a burrow behind the creature, resembling the ones typically made by spiders. This discovery unveils an additional aspect of the scene's intricacy, shedding light on the creature's environment and potential habits. It appears that a round opening has been created, which may serve as evidence of the creature's dwelling place. This circular opening could potentially signify the location where the entity resides or seeks refuge." End quote. In recent years, numerous individuals have dedicated extensive time to meticulously analyzing vintage NASA images with the aim of discovering peculiar phenomena. Notably, researchers who have invested significant efforts in studying the enigmatic features of the red planet have widely claimed that there are unexplained occurrences transpiring on Mars. This ongoing fascination with the mysteries of Mars has spurred a deep and thorough exploration of the peculiar phenomena present on the planet's surface, igniting a widespread quest for unveiling the secrets shrouding this topic. For more than 10 years, the Mars Curiosity rover has been tirelessly conducting explorations on the barren terrain of Mars, continuously transmitting awe-inspiring photographs of the red planet. Its extensive mission has not only offered captivating snapshots of the Martian landscape, but has also sporadically uncovered peculiarities that have sparked the curiosity of both space aficionados and scientific investigators. The continuous stream of data and images has provided a rich tapestry of information, contributing significantly to our understanding of Mars and its potential for supporting life. One of the most remarkable assertions presented by individuals closely monitoring the Mars Curiosity rover's mission is the purported identification of perplexing organisms or potential life forms depicted in the visuals relayed from the planet's terrain. Despite bearing only a vague resemblance to earthly creatures on numerous occasions, these purported life forms have sparked vigorous speculation and discourse within the scientific realm, leading to an in-depth exploration and analysis of this intriguing possibility. One of the most intriguing speculations regarding the existence of life on Mars is linked to what has colloquially been referred to as Martian arachnids. Certain images captured by the Mars Curiosity rover reveal unusual formations that resemble multi-limbed arachnid-like shapes. These structures bear a curious resemblance to spiders found on Earth, prompting some to speculate that they could represent extremophilic organisms adapted to Mars' harsh conditions. On the other hand, skeptics argue that these features are more likely the result of natural erosion or coincidental rock formations, casting doubt on the idea that they are signs of life. This ongoing debate continues to stoke conversations about the possibility of life beyond our planet. Even more intriguing is the reported appearance of what some call Mars jellyfish, translucent, floating entities captured in several rover photographs. These strange forms appear to drift in the thin Martian atmosphere, shimmering and partially transparent. Some researchers have theorized that if these are living organisms, they might rely on exotic gases or solar energy for survival, showcasing a form of life adapted to completely alien environmental conditions. These mysterious sightings, ranging from arachnid-like structures to floating jellyfish forms and possible unidentified flying objects, invite speculation and ignite curiosity. They challenge our current scientific understanding and suggest that Mars may hold more surprises than previously thought. While skepticism and rigorous scientific analysis are essential, the implications of such findings, whether pointing toward extraterrestrial life or even advanced civilizations, are profound and worthy of deeper investigation. Moving on to the next mystery. A 2010 study by the Pew Research Center found that about 84% of the global population identified with a religious group. This broad category includes followers of major faiths such as Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and others. Within religious literature, one figure emerges as particularly unsettling, arguably even more so than Satan himself. That figure is Abaddon, often considered God's right-hand agent of destruction. The term Abaddon originates from Hebrew and is rich in symbolic meaning, often representing devastation and annihilation. It appears in various religious texts, each offering unique interpretations. In the Hebrew Bible, Abaddon is referenced in the books of Job and Proverbs, typically linked with death or the grave. In the New Testament's book of Revelation, Abaddon is described as the angel of the bottomless pit, also known as the angel of the abyss. Here, Abaddon is depicted as a powerful, destructive being who may command demonic forces, symbolizing chaos and opposition to divine order. The imagery of the abyss tied to Abaddon underscores a force of ruin that threatens spiritual harmony and righteousness. Among the intimidating figures presented in the biblical book of Revelation, Abaddon is regarded as one of the most ominous. This malevolent entity aptly embodies its name, denoting ruin and devastation. In the culmination of history, it emerges as one of Satan's commanding officers, a fallen angel in charge of the abyss. Together with its subjects, an army of supernatural beings capable of inflicting severe suffering on humanity, Abaddon initiates the fifth round of trumpet judgments illustrated in the apocalyptic vision of John the Apostle. Abaddon is mentioned 5 times in the Old Testament. According to some biblical scholars who are knowledgeable in the field, there are references in the New Testament that indirectly mention Abaddon's location without explicitly naming it. Unlike Sheol, where unrepentant people are said to go after passing on to the other side, Abaddon is believed to be a distinct realm where fallen angels are imprisoned until the time appointed by God for their judgment. Despite the fact that Abaddon and his followers cause unimaginable suffering to those who aren't saved during this time, the will of God prevails, and humanity will not be entirely eradicated. The function and authority of this fallen angel, as well as all other entities of hell, are determined and sanctioned by God himself, ultimately subject to his supreme will. The symbolic significance of Abaddon extends beyond its literal interpretation. It is often seen as a representation of the forces of evil, chaos, and destruction that can be present within the human experience. It serves as a reminder of the potential consequences of straying from a path of righteousness and succumbing to the temptations of darkness. Furthermore, Abaddon can be seen as a metaphor for inner struggles and challenges faced by individuals. It represents the internal battles between good and evil, order and chaos, and the constant need for self-reflection and self-discipline. The mention of Abaddon in religious texts encourages believers to remain steadfast in their faith and to resist the temptations and destructive forces that can lead them astray. The interpretation of Abaddon is not limited to religious contexts, but has also found its place in literature, art, and popular culture. In various works, Abaddon is depicted as a powerful entity, often associated with darkness, chaos, and the struggle between good and evil. These interpretations draw inspiration from the biblical references to Abaddon, using its symbolism to explore deeper themes and narratives. In biblical literature, demons are supernatural beings often associated with evil, temptation, and spiritual corruption. While the concept of demons has evolved throughout history, their presence in the Bible provides valuable insights into their role and significance within religious narratives. The term demon is derived from the Greek word demon, which can refer to a variety of spiritual beings, including both malevolent and benevolent entities. In the Bible, demons are depicted as fallen angels or rebellious spirits who have chosen to align themselves with Satan, the embodiment of evil. Demons are mentioned in various books of the Bible, including the New Testament, where they are described as possessing individuals and causing various afflictions, such as illness and mental disturbances. These accounts demonstrate the power and influence that demons were believed to have over human lives. One of the most notable instances of demonic possession in the New Testament is the story of Jesus casting out demons from individuals. These accounts emphasize the authority of Jesus over evil forces and serve as a demonstration of his power and ability to heal. The presence of demons in these narratives also underscores the ongoing battle between good and evil, with Jesus representing the ultimate source of redemption and deliverance. The Bible portrays demons as deceptive and manipulative beings, seeking to lead people away from God and into spiritual bondage. They are often associated with temptations, particularly in the context of moral and spiritual choices. The Apostle Paul warns believers about the influence of demons and encourages them to put on the armor of God to resist their attacks. While demons are portrayed as powerful spiritual beings, the Bible also emphasizes the ultimate authority of God over them. Jesus' ministry is characterized by his ability to cast out demons and restore individuals to wholeness, demonstrating his power and triumph over evil. The understanding of demons in biblical texts has influenced religious beliefs and practices. Throughout history, various interpretations and teachings have emerged regarding the nature of demons and their influence on human lives. These interpretations often vary among different religious traditions and denominations. In modern times, the concept of demons remains a compelling and often controversial topic. While some individuals interpret demons as actual spiritual beings, others see them more metaphorically, as symbols of internal battles, harmful habits, or broader societal issues. Belief in demons spans numerous religious and spiritual traditions and also features prominently in literature, film, and other areas of popular culture. It's essential to understand that biblical descriptions of demons were shaped by the cultural and religious contexts of their time. Like all religious concepts, interpretations of demons benefit from thoughtful consideration and openness to diverse viewpoints. In biblical texts, the devil is presented as a powerful spiritual force embodying evil, temptation, and opposition to both God and humanity. Referred to by names such as Satan or Lucifer, the devil plays a central role in the themes of sin, redemption, and the eternal struggle between good and evil. The origins of this figure can be found in several biblical passages, both in the Old and New Testaments. In Genesis, the devil appears as the serpent who tempts Eve, resulting in humanity's fall from grace. This moment introduces sin into the human experience and lays the foundation for the enduring conflict between divine order and the forces of darkness. Throughout the Bible, the devil is described as a deceiver and accuser, seeking to lead people away from God and into spiritual destruction. In the New Testament, the devil is depicted as a fallen angel who rebelled against God along with a group of other angels. The devil is known for his cunning and ability to disguise himself as an angel of light, aiming to deceive and corrupt humanity. The devil's role as a tempter is evident in various biblical accounts, such as the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness. In this story, the devil offers Jesus power and authority in exchange for his loyalty. However, Jesus resists the temptations, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to God and serving as an example of how to overcome the influence of the devil. The devil is also associated with the concept of hell, a place of punishment and separation from God. In the book of Revelation, the devil is depicted as a powerful entity who leads a final rebellion against God, only to be defeated and cast into the lake of fire. This imagery serves as a reminder of the consequences that await those who succumb to the influence of the devil and turn away from God's path. The interpretation of the devil in religious traditions varies, with some viewing the devil as a literal being, while others understand the devil as a symbolic representation of the human capacity for evil and temptation. Regardless of the interpretation, the portrayal of the devil in the Bible highlights the existence of evil in the world and the need for individuals to resist its allure. The belief in the devil has influenced religious teachings and practices throughout history. Concepts such as sin, repentance, and the need for spiritual warfare against the forces of evil are rooted in the understanding of the devil's influence. Religious communities often emphasize the importance of discernment, prayer, and moral righteousness to resist the devil's temptations and live a faithful life. Outside of religious contexts, the concept of the devil has also permeated literature, art, and popular culture. The devil is often depicted as a figure of fear, representing the embodiment of evil and the consequences of moral transgressions. These portrayals serve as cautionary tales, urging individuals to reflect on their actions and the potential consequences of aligning themselves with evil. In biblical literature, the concept of demons as fallen angels is derived from various passages that describe the rebellion and fall of certain celestial beings. While the Bible does not provide a comprehensive account of the origin and nature of demons, there are references that suggest a connection between demons and fallen angels. The belief that demons were once angels stems primarily from passages in the New Testament, particularly the book of Revelation and the teachings of Jesus. In Revelation, it is stated that a great war occurred in heaven, where the dragon, identified as Satan, and his angels fought against Michael and his angels. The dragon and his angels were defeated and cast out of heaven, and they were no longer permitted to reside in the divine realm. This event is often interpreted as the rebellion of certain angels against God, resulting in their expulsion from heaven and their transformation into demons. The fallen angels, led by Satan, are believed to have become corrupt and aligned themselves with evil, seeking to deceive and tempt humanity. Additionally, Jesus referred to Satan as the ruler of demons in several instances. For example, in Matthew, the Pharisees accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of Beelzebul, the prince of demons. Jesus responds by saying that if Satan casts out Satan, then his kingdom is divided and cannot stand. This implies a hierarchical structure among demons with Satan as their leader. While the Bible does not provide extensive details about the origin and nature of demons, these passages suggest a connection between demons and fallen angels. It is important to note, however, that the Bible does not explicitly state that all demons were once angels. Some scholars interpret these passages as symbolic or metaphorical rather than literal, highlighting the spiritual battle between good and evil rather than presenting a detailed account of angelic rebellion. The belief in fallen angels transforming into demons has influenced religious teachings and traditions. Various religious texts and apocryphal writings provide additional details and narratives about the fall of angels and their transformation into demonic entities. These sources often expand on the characteristics and activities of demons, portraying them as malevolent beings who seek to harm and deceive humanity. The concept of fallen angels turned demons has also been depicted in artistic and literary works throughout history. These portrayals often delve into the themes of temptation, sin, and the ongoing cosmic struggle between the forces of good and evil. The narrative of God casting out Satan appears across several religious traditions, including Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. While each tradition may interpret the details differently, the central concept remains consistent: a divine judgment in which God expels Satan as a result of rebellion and defiance. In Christian theology, Satan is commonly described as a once glorious angel who rebelled against God's authority, driven by pride and a desire to elevate himself above his creator. This act of disobedience led to his downfall and exile from heaven. The story underscores pride and the pursuit of power as key elements in Satan's fall. A fundamental reason for Satan's expulsion, according to Christian belief, lies in the fundamental opposition between his nature and God's. God is portrayed as omniscient, omnipotent, and wholly good, whereas Satan embodies deception, malice, and resistance to the divine plan. This stark contrast underlines the theological and moral divide between the two, reinforcing the broader theme of good versus evil in religious narratives. Moving on to the next mystery. In January 1997, Brian Dylan Ninsfield was an 18-year-old freshman attending Roger Williams University in Bristol, Rhode Island. He was in his second semester and was known to be quiet, keeping a close-knit group of friends. Having gone through his parents' divorce as a child, Brian and his parents chose Roger Williams University together, drawn to its friendly, home-like atmosphere. While studying architecture, Brian often struggled with homesickness. He found comfort in reading and listening to music by the water near Mount Hope Bridge during his free time. Despite these moments of peace, the pressure of his coursework frequently left him feeling overwhelmed. Things took a troubling turn on January 31st when Brian received a threatening phone call from a former student of the university who claimed he still had access to the campus. Alarmed, Brian called his father around 12:30 a.m. and asked him to come to the school. Brian's father advised him to report the threatening call to campus security, but their only recommendation was that he change his phone number. A week later, on February 6th, after attending his literature class, Brian vanished without a trace. His disappearance went unreported to his family until February 12th. When his parents arrived at his dorm, everything appeared undisturbed, except for one strange detail. His mother, Mary Ann, noticed sand in his bed, which struck her as odd given Brian's typically tidy and meticulous nature. Soon after he went missing, Mary Ann received a cryptic phone call from a woman claiming to be affiliated with the university. The caller alleged that an administrator and 2 faculty members were deliberately withholding crucial information related to Brian's disappearance. The call abruptly ended, and the woman was never identified. The lead went cold. Then, 6 months later over Labor Day weekend in September, a mother and daughter walking along Hog Island Beach, just a few miles from the university, made a horrifying discovery. A shoe washed up on shore containing part of a human foot. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Brian. A nearby shin bone was also identified as his. No other remains have ever been recovered, and Brian was officially presumed dead following this grim find. Eventually, the man who'd made the threatening phone calls to Brian was identified. He was a former student named Josh Cohen and was pointed out by campus officials. While Josh and Brian were friends during Brian's first semester, it has been suggested that the two were possibly romantically involved, although no one can say for certain. It's alleged that the relationship ended just weeks before Brian's disappearance. While Cohen admitted to making the phone calls, he claimed they were all in jest. Authorities do not believe that Josh Cohen is involved with Brian's disappearance. There are several theories regarding the case of Brian Ninsfield. Police speculate he accidentally fell into the river beneath Mount Hope Bridge, or that perhaps he jumped from the bridge itself. His parents believe their son fell victim to foul play and that Cohen, who'd made the distressing phone calls, was responsible. Another theory put forward by online investigators is that perhaps Cohen was going to come forward about their relationship and Brian committed suicide as a result, as he was unhappy or uncomfortable with the decision. Brian's parents placed significant blame on Roger Williams University for their handling of his disappearance, particularly for failing to notify them promptly. They believed that the crucial first 24 hours in a missing persons case were lost, reducing their chances of finding Brian alive. His father, Stephen, recalled the university's response as indifferent and lacking empathy, describing it as uncaring, unsympathetic, unconcerned. In response, Stephen and Mary Ann filed a lawsuit against the school, though the outcome of the case remains unknown. They also became advocates for legislation requiring schools to notify parents more swiftly when a student goes missing. The university's actions surrounding Brian Ninsfield's disappearance raised serious concerns. According to reports, a staff member from the admissions office instructed campus tour guides to tell inquiring visitors that Brian was safe and staying with his parents, an untrue and misleading statement. There were also claims that individuals affiliated with the university were subtly pressured not to share information, though the nature of this influence remains vague. Staff were allegedly told not to respond to student questions about the incident. Overall, the university and local authorities appeared to treat Brian's disappearance with minimal urgency. The reasons for this apparent lack of action are still unclear, and without further investigation or accountability, Brian's case may remain unresolved. Moving on to the next mystery. In January 1997, Brian Dylan Ninsfield was an 18-year-old freshman attending Roger Williams University in Bristol, Rhode Island. He was in his second semester and was known to be quiet, keeping a close-knit group of friends. Having gone through his parents' divorce as a child, Brian and his parents chose Roger Williams University together, drawn to its friendly, home-like atmosphere. While studying architecture, Brian often struggled with homesickness. He found comfort in reading and listening to music by the water near Mount Hope Bridge during his free time. Despite these moments of peace, the pressure of his coursework frequently left him feeling overwhelmed. Things took a troubling turn on January 31st when Brian received a threatening phone call from a former student of the university who claimed he still had access to the campus. Alarmed, Brian called his father around 12:30 a.m. and asked him to come to the school. Brian's father advised him to report the threatening call to campus security, but their only recommendation was that he change his phone number. A week later, on February 6th, after attending his literature class, Brian vanished without a trace. His disappearance went unreported to his family until February 12th. When his parents arrived at his dorm, everything appeared undisturbed, except for one strange detail. His mother, Mary Ann, noticed sand in his bed, which struck her as odd given Brian's typically tidy and meticulous nature. Soon after he went missing, Mary Ann received a cryptic phone call from a woman claiming to be affiliated with the university. The caller alleged that an administrator and 2 faculty members were deliberately withholding crucial information related to Brian's disappearance. The call abruptly ended, and the woman was never identified. The lead went cold. Then, 6 months later over Labor Day weekend in September, a mother and daughter walking along Hog Island Beach, just a few miles from the university, made a horrifying discovery. A shoe washed up on shore containing part of a human foot. DNA testing confirmed it belonged to Brian. A nearby shin bone was also identified as his. No other remains have ever been recovered, and Brian was officially presumed dead following this grim find. Eventually, the man who'd made the threatening phone calls to Brian was identified. He was a former student named Josh Cohen and was pointed out by campus officials. While Josh and Brian were friends during Brian's first semester, it has been suggested that the two were possibly romantically involved, although no one can say for certain. It's alleged that the relationship ended just weeks before Brian's disappearance. While Cohen admitted to making the phone calls, he claimed they were all in jest. Authorities do not believe that Josh Cohen is involved with Brian's disappearance. There are several theories regarding the case of Brian Ninsfield. Police speculate he accidentally fell into the river beneath Mount Hope Bridge, or that perhaps he jumped from the bridge itself. His parents believe their son fell victim to foul play and that Cohen, who'd made the distressing phone calls, was responsible. Another theory put forward by online investigators is that perhaps Cohen was going to come forward about their relationship and Brian committed suicide as a result, as he was unhappy or uncomfortable with the decision. Brian's parents placed significant blame on Roger Williams University for their handling of his disappearance, particularly for failing to notify them promptly. They believe that the crucial first 24 hours in a missing persons case were lost, reducing their chances of finding Brian alive. His father, Stephen, recalled the university's response as indifferent and lacking empathy, describing it as uncaring, unsympathetic, unconcerned. In response, Stephen and Mary Ann filed a lawsuit against the school, though the outcome of the case remains unknown. They also became advocates for legislation requiring schools to notify parents more swiftly when a student goes missing. The university's actions surrounding Brian Ninsfield's disappearance raised serious concerns. According to reports, a staff member from the admissions office instructed campus tour guides to tell inquiring visitors that Brian was safe and staying with his parents, an untrue and misleading statement. There were also claims that individuals affiliated with the university were subtly pressured not to share information, though the nature of this influence remains vague. Staff were allegedly told not to respond to student questions about the incident. Overall, the university and local authorities appeared to treat Brian's disappearance with minimal urgency. The reasons for this apparent lack of action are still unclear, and without further investigation or accountability, Brian's case may remain unresolved. Aside from the DNA belonging to Norbert K., no other foreign genetic material was found on Petra. Despite this, witness testimony provided ample grounds for suspicion. The presence of Norbert's DNA solely on her clothing was not considered unusual, as the crime did not involve additional physical assault or verbal confrontation. The layout of the scene suggested a struggle had taken place, rather than any kind of casual or social interaction like dancing. On Monday, September 4, 2023, Norbert's trial commenced, and he entered a plea of not guilty. However, Norbert's connection to the crime deepened when, during a trial session on November 11, 2023, it was revealed that his DNA had also been found inside Petra's tights. While the final verdict had yet to be officially announced, the evidence presented in court pointed strongly toward his guilt, and it was widely expected that Norbert would be convicted on all charges. Moving on to the next mystery. Jerry and Marilyn, the proud parents of Stephen Craig Damon, welcomed their son into the world on December 15, 1952. Although Jerry was originally from Michigan, the family relocated to Long Island, New York, where he was stationed during his service in the Air Force. At the time of the move, Stephen was only 2 years old. On Halloween, October 31, 1955, Marilyn took a trip to the neighborhood store with her 2 children, Stephen and his 7-month-old sister Pamela, who sat in a stroller. The store was just a block and a half from their home. While it might sound risky today, back then it was fairly common for working mothers to briefly leave their children outside a store while they ran inside for quick errands. On one such trip, Marilyn left her kids near the entrance while she went in to grab a loaf of bread. When she returned about 10 minutes later, both children were gone. Luckily, a family friend soon found Pam still in her stroller and brought her back to Marilyn. However, 2-year-old Stephen had vanished. After the police were promptly notified, a massive manhunt that included the military immediately began. Although 5,000 volunteers contributed to the search, the missing youngster was never located. After that, notes demanding ransom were sent to Jerry and Marilyn. To ensure Stephen's safe return, the first requested $3,000. The next one demanded $10,000, and the last one $14,000. The distressed couple tried to follow their son's kidnapper, but it was quickly discovered that the letters were a fake, sent by a Queens College student in New York City. The student was just an opportunist and had nothing to do with the kidnapping. Jerry and Marilyn's aspirations of seeing their cherished kid again were abruptly cut short. The boy in the box, Philadelphia's renowned John Doe, was once considered a potential candidate for the lost child. Though John Doe, who was discovered in 1957, did not have the same healed arm fracture that Stephen did, they were both blonde, blue-eyed, and scarred. Their footprints were also different. DNA unmistakably demonstrated in 2003 that John Doe was not Stephen Damon. Considering how little evidence was discovered at the scene, there are relatively few theories surrounding Stephen's case. Nothing existed, not even forensic evidence or witnesses. Some internet detectives have speculated that he might have been abducted and reared by a different family. But why wasn't Pam taken too, if that was the intention? Some believe the abductor may have abandoned the idea of managing both an energetic toddler and a bulky stroller, assuming Pam, being an infant, wouldn't remember anything or be able to identify them later. Another theory is that Stephen might have attempted to follow alongside the stroller but became distracted or lost interest, eventually wandering off. It's possible he lost his way or became involved in an accident. However, some people have questioned this idea, pointing out that strollers from the 1950s had an awkward, heavy design and a high push bar, making it unlikely a toddler could maneuver one. Another detail that continues to raise questions is Stephen's previously healed arm fracture. Many amateur sleuths have speculated whether it resulted from an accident or indicated possible abuse. This theory has led some to suspect Marilyn may have played a role in her son's disappearance. A YouTube video featuring an elderly woman, who claims to be a former neighbor of the Damons, has added fuel to the fire. In it, she alleges Marilyn was abusive towards Stephen and claims to have witnessed and reported the mistreatment herself. She continued by saying that she thought the body had been buried under a walkway that was being built at the time. Of course, there is a dearth of tangible evidence, and the film offers no evidence whatsoever regarding the elderly woman's relationship to the Damon family. Thus, it is best to approach all of this with caution as it is purported. A lot of internet detectives don't think highly of this video. It's unclear whether the authorities have seen this footage and whether they've looked into it in depth. When a guy by the name of John Barnes came forward in 2009 and suggested he might be the lost youngster, Stephen's case took a new turn. John, a 54-year-old Michigan resident, shared Stephen's calf mole and face scar. His sister strongly contested his claims that he never fit in with his family and that he didn't look like his parents, pointing out that everyone thought he looked a lot like his father. John said that he had seen a photo of Marilyn from the 1950s and thought it looked familiar. John claims that his mother's plea for him to come see her alone as she battled lung cancer piqued his interest. He complied. and even though she never explicitly stated it, he started to believe that she was attempting to inform him that she wasn't his biological mother. John claimed that although his mother was too high to really say it, he was certain that's what she was trying to imply. When he came over Stephen's details while doing research on missing children, his confidence grew even more. John maintained his confidence despite his father and sister being shocked that he didn't believe he was related to them. Upon meeting Pam, who is now an adult with children of her own, he learned that although she didn't consider him to be her brother, the two grew close. That same year, the FBI conducted a DNA test, hoping for a breakthrough. However, the results once again left the family in uncertainty when it was confirmed that John was not the missing Stephen Damon. Since then, there have been very few developments in Stephen's case. After his disappearance, Marilyn and Jerry Damon relocated to Iowa and eventually divorced in 1957. Marilyn later moved to Missouri, while Jerry remained in Iowa, remarried, and had 2 more children. Jerry has since shared his ongoing desire to uncover the truth about what happened to Stephen on that Halloween night in 1955. Despite the passing years, the case remains open to this day. Moving on to the next mystery. Mary Lambden was a 17-year-old sophomore at Sacramento High School with developmental disabilities. On January 14, 1981, she was reported missing after she failed to appear for a scheduled ride to school. Tragically, the next morning, January 15th, her body was found abandoned along the side of a road west of Interstate 5. At the scene, the only lead investigators had was DNA evidence believed to belong to the suspect. Over the years, detectives repeatedly revisited Mary's case, determined to bring her killer to justice. In 2016, 35 years after her murder, the case was officially reopened. Investigators reached out to the public, seeking information about a man named Daryl, not considered a suspect, but a known acquaintance of Mary whom they hoped to question. Sacramento Police Chief Daniel Hahn also proposed utilizing genetic genealogy as a new avenue to potentially solve the case. The DNA evidence collected from the crime scene was submitted to various databases in search of a match. In April 2020, Sacramento Police Chief Daniel Hahn and District Attorney Anne-Marie Schubert announced a major breakthrough. They believed they had finally identified Mary Lambden's killer as Vernon Parker. Parker himself had died in 1982, just 1 year after Mary's murder. District Attorney Schubert emphasized the significance of the development, stating that investigative genetic genealogy has transformed law enforcement's ability to solve violent crimes, helping to both identify perpetrators and clear the innocent. While Vernon Parker will never face justice in a courtroom, both the investigators and Mary's surviving family have expressed deep appreciation for the closure they've received. Mary's sister, Esther, shared her gratitude, saying, "They really did work hard to find out who did it. Thank you to everyone who was involved in the case." Moving on to the next mystery. On August 18, 1993, 12-year-old Sarah Inwood left her home on Heckerham Road in Frankfort, Pennsylvania, to attend a nearby church. Norwich Corners Church, located at the intersection of Roberts Road and Grafenberg Road in Sequoia, was less than a mile from her house and hosted a summer Bible school that Sarah regularly attended. That day, she gathered some poster board, 8x10-inch plastic transparencies, and a church songbook while at the church. Afterward, Sarah began her short journey home. She was last seen riding her pink and white 10-speed mountain bike down Roberts Road and up the steep hill on Heckerham Road, just 0.4 of a mile from her destination. Despite the close distance, Sarah never made it home and was never seen again. That evening, concerned family, friends, and local authorities began searching for her. During their search, they discovered a disturbing scene in the nearby brush. Sarah's belongings scattered haphazardly on the ground, while her distinctive pink and white bike had been carefully placed upright against a tree. 100 feet separated the goods from Hackerham Road. The inquiry into Sarah's disappearance appears to have been short-lived, as a 45-year-old former janitor named Lewis Lent Jr. admitted to kidnapping and killing the 12-year-old child just 3 years later. After being found guilty in 1995 of kidnapping, larceny, assault with a dangerous weapon, and assault and battery in connection with his earlier attempt to kidnap a 12-year-old girl in Massachusetts, Lent was already serving his sentence in prison. While incarcerated, Lent admitted to killing 2 children. James Bernardo, then 12 years old, is said to have been the first victim of Lent. He vanished from a Pittsfield, Massachusetts, theater on October 22, 1990. Lent met James when he was working at the theater and was walking outdoors at the time. He coerced James into accompanying him by threatening and using a knife. Once in his apartment, he stripped the little child of his clothes, taped him to his bed, and physically abused him. Then he hanged James to death. James was discovered dead in Newfield, New York. It was near Lent's childhood home, even though it was distant from the scene of the kidnapping. Lent was not regarded as a suspect or a person of interest at the time of the crime. In his second confession, Lent acknowledged that he had kidnapped and killed Sarah Wood. He stated that he had found the young girl while searching for a victim, and he forced her into his van with a knife once more. After binding Sarah's hands, he took her upstate into the Adirondack Mountains, where he sexually assaulted her and ultimately killed her with a big tree branch. He never checked to see if she was still alive before burying her. "I dislike touching dead bodies," he was quoted as saying. Equipped with the necessary tools, he traveled to the mountain range with the intention of disposing of her body. Initially, Lent confessed to burying Sarah's remains in a section of the Adirondack Mountains near Roquette Lake. He even provided a map pinpointing the supposed burial site, located in or around the town of Inlet, New York. However, extensive searches in the area failed to uncover any trace of Sarah. Lent later admitted that Sarah's body was not actually there. He eventually refused to give law enforcement any further information, claiming he had buried her with another victim whose identity he wanted to keep hidden. Although he later recanted his confession, it was too late. He had already been convicted for the kidnapping of Sarah Wood and the murder of James Bernardo. In 2013, Lent also confessed to the killing of 16-year-old James Lusher. In 1992, James Lusher disappeared from Westfield, Massachusetts. Since Lent was already serving a life sentence, the authorities decided not to press charges, although they did search Greenwater Pond for his remains. But after a 3-day search, no signs of James could be found in the vicinity. Despite Lent's conviction for 2 murders, there remains a great deal of discussion and conjecture about his confessions. He asserted that he occasionally experienced memory loss and blackouts. Additionally, he claimed in a related press article that this was because of his close experience with a UFO in 1974. This would imply that Lent suffers from mental health problems, which would distort his admissions. There have also been theories suggesting that Lent had an accomplice who is still at large and that he did not act alone. Nobody has ever located Sarah's body. Her case was also revisited in 2015. Even after the conviction, her case is still pending resolution. Currently incarcerated for life at the Colony Correctional Facility in Bridgewater, Massachusetts, is Lent. The Sarah and Wood Rescue Center was established by Sarah's family following her disappearance. It was subsequently renamed the Mohawk Valley branch of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. In addition, her narrative encouraged a small group of cyclists, led by her father Robert and elder brother Dusty, to ride from Utica, New York to the U.S. Capitol wearing teal and pink jerseys in an effort to raise awareness of her case and the Mohawk Valley office of the NCMEC. Thousands of bikers now take part in the annual event, which raises money for the NCMEC and sheds light on Sarah's case, as well as the cases of 100 other missing children nationwide. Today, people wear purple to honor the police officers who worked on these cases and white to symbolize all the children who have gone missing. On August 18, 1993, 12-year-old Sarah and Wood was last seen riding her bike up a steep hill on Hackerdam Road in Frankfort, New York. At the time, Sarah stood 5 feet tall and weighed around 96 pounds. She was last seen wearing a headband, brown sandals, turquoise shorts, and a pink t-shirt with the words, "Guess Who" embroidered on the front. She may have been carrying 4 keys attached to a fluorescent green and white keychain with a silver ring, along with prescription tortoiseshell eyeglasses. Sarah is a Caucasian girl with brown hair, blue eyes, and distinct features, including scars on both legs, dimples in her cheeks, and the absence of one toe on each foot. Her shoulder-length hair and facial freckles were also notable at the time she went missing. Some agencies list her name as, and without the E. Although foul play is strongly suspected, Sarah remains classified as a missing person. If still alive, she would now be 40 years old. Moving on to the next mystery. Telika Patrick, a first-year resident in the medical program at Western Michigan University, was last seen on December 5th in the parking lot of her workplace, Borges Medical Center in Kalamazoo. After finishing her shift around 7 p.m., a male coworker gave her a ride to the downtown Radisson Hotel. Surveillance footage shows her arriving there wearing a black sweatshirt and black pants, attempting to check into a room. However, she eventually left without a room, carrying only $20 and no identification. Not long after, she used the hotel's shuttle service to return to the medical center and retrieve her car. At around 10 p.m. that same night, Indiana State Police received a report of a car driving erratically. They found her vehicle abandoned in a ditch off Interstate 90 in Portage, Indiana. Inside were her wallet and identification, but the car keys were missing. Aside from a flat tire, the vehicle showed no signs of damage. When Telika didn't report to work the following morning, she was officially declared missing. On December 12th, state police brought in a bloodhound to search the area. The dog traced her scent back to the interstate before the trail went cold. What led her to go more than 100 miles west without warning her friends and family, and without her cell phone or pocketbook, is the question that needs to be answered. Although nothing noteworthy was found on Patrick's phone records, police claimed that the day before she vanished, she may have been irritated by a phone call. Subsequent research revealed a number of videos on YouTube showing Patrick serenading a possible love interest at her Gulrun Apartments residence. In an early November video, Sandra 3000 Cassie shared a meal she had prepared for the guest along with some words. She calls the person she is speaking to in another video, baby, and love. According to Telika's mother, she didn't know who her daughter was referencing in the videos and doesn't believe she was in a sexual relationship when she vanished. As Patrick and his ex-husband haven't spoken in 2 years, they are likewise not considered suspects. It appears from the film that she was allegedly stalking a well-known gospel singer, the subject of her irrational romantic videos. After Patrick was accused of stalking her for at least a year, Pastor Marvin Sapp, a Grammy-nominated vocalist, obtained a restraining order against her. She tried to get in touch with his family, sent him several emails and tweets every day, and even picked her college and career depending on where he lived. Sapp purportedly showed 400 pages of letters from Patrick, to which he claims he never replied. In an unexpected twist, Telika Patrick titled her second video post Surprise, a post that gained attention after her disappearance just days later, in what would become known as her final video. Despite speculation, her family maintained that Telika did not suffer from any mental illness. On April 6, 2014, a fisherman discovered her body in Lake Charles, Indiana. An autopsy later confirmed that she had died from drowning. Although her family strongly believed foul play was involved, the investigation concluded with the official ruling of an accidental death, and the case was subsequently closed. Moving on to the next mystery. On June 3, 1993, a truck driver stopped along the westbound Pacheco Pass Highway in Gilroy, California, and made a grim discovery: the body of an unidentified woman. He had pulled over to relieve himself and quickly contacted authorities after finding her. The coroner later classified her cause of death as undetermined. She was dressed in blue clothing but carried no identification, and despite significant efforts by investigators, they were unable to determine who she was at the time. The unidentified woman became known to police as Blue Pacheco and was laid to rest in a local cemetery. A year later, an Oregon newspaper began receiving a series of letters from someone claiming responsibility for 5 murders along the West Coast. The mysterious author signed each letter with a smiley face, prompting the paper to run a 5-part series about the self-proclaimed happy face serial killer. At that point, 4 or 5 unsolved cases were under investigation in the region. A year later, the letter writer was revealed to be Keith Hunter Jesperson. He confessed to murdering several people. However, authorities linked him to 8 female murders between 1990 and 1995. He also wrote a letter to the Santa Clara County District Attorney in 2006 admitting to sexually assaulting and killing a female on Pacheco Pass Highway. However, he said that he did not know the woman's identity. In 2007, Jesperson pleaded guilty to killing the unknown woman later referred to as Blue Pacheco. He told police he met the woman at a truck stop on Interstate 5 in Corning, California, and gave her a ride. He said he had sex with her before strangling her to death. He then drove towards Gilroy and dumped her body at the Pacheco Pass on Highway 152. He told police she had told him she had family in Sacramento, California. However, he did not know her name. Keith Hunter Jesperson was ultimately sentenced to life in prison for multiple murders, with no possibility of parole. However, despite having her killer behind bars, the identity of the woman he left on the side of Pacheco Pass Highway remained a mystery for years. In 2019, investigators reopened the case and enlisted the help of the DNA Doe Project, a nonprofit specializing in using genetic genealogy to identify unknown individuals. By creating a DNA profile and uploading it to GeneMatch, the team was able to trace familial connections. On April 13, 2022, authorities finally confirmed the woman's identity. She was Patricia Skipple, known affectionately to her family as Patsy. Patricia was a 45-year-old mother and longtime resident of Colton, Oregon. Her disappearance had remained unsolved for nearly 3 decades. Although the case has now been closed, authorities have not disclosed the specific circumstances surrounding her death or the details of the investigation that followed. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring these intriguing unsolved mysteries with me. If you found the video fascinating, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Unsolved Mystique for more deep dives into unsolved mysteries. Your support helps me bring you more compelling content. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or any mysteries you'd like me to cover next. See you in the next video.